Welcome to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hi and welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi and it's always a pleasure to bring this show your way. How are you? What's your surround looking like? Last week we looked at the law of surround. Feedback was great. I had someone send me a message today. Not just one person actually. In fact, today the shout out is to a lot of people. I have Okpef Malomo from the UK who sent a message to say, oh wow, that it was great. I have Maina Jewambembe from the US who's listened and has gone on to listen to some other episodes. And every morning I wake up to an email from her telling me how it's been of a blessing to her. So thank you ladies for coming in. I have Iniakman who just sent me a message today to say the show blessed her. Keep them coming. It's always a great oil for our wheels when we get those fantastic feedbacks. But even if your feedback isn't that great, maybe there's something you wish could change, or maybe you feel there's something you want to complain about or critique us constructively about, please send the messages in. We are not above mistakes and we don't claim to be at the height of our game. We are works in progress, so I'm always willing to take correction so that I can get better, so that I can serve you better. Okay, now that is out of the way, really, how did the law of surround go for you? And someone sent in a message saying she has 3 of those surrounds right, but her relational surround is not been that great because she's had experiences in the past that have scarred her, and because of that she's not been able to forge the right relational surround. She wanted to know what she needs to do now so that she can get the right surround in. The easy answer to that question is just grab a copy of my book, Sister Power, and you will discover the power of collaborations. You will know how to contract the right relationships, what you need to do to nurture those relationships, and what the expectation of your relationships should be. The not so easy answer is send your specific questions on that, and maybe one day soon we will take a look at relationships again. But I actually think that we've done a few shows in the past that speak to relational issues. So just scroll back to the archive and take a look at them. And if you still have further questions, let me know. Today, we want to look at the danger of low expectations. The danger of low expectations. The idea is that dream chasers, or people who want to discover purpose and live powerful lives, are usually those people who have great expectations about themselves. And sometimes we take for granted that these people are human, and they tend to also get into positions or situations where they're not able to exercise all of their power the way they should exercise their power. So today we want to look at the danger of low expectations. Why even though you feel like you shouldn't do more, you have to continue to do more so that you can be the best version of yourself. But before we dive deeply into the danger of low expectations, I will just stop a bit and help you catch your breath while I catch my breath as well. I'll be right back.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA Destiny Navigational Application is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmodi.com to place your order now.
Great to be back. It's still the Nevertheless show, and the topic today is the danger of low expectations. But before I go into the danger of low expectations, have you followed us on Twitter yet? I don't think so. Not a lot of you have followed us on Twitter. I mean, @Dukia Radio. You don't want to miss out of that fun and out of that great learning, all the great learning that will be coming out of that radio station. So you want to quickly follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and let's see how far we can go with that. I know that great serving is coming your way via Dukia Radio. So please just like us on Twitter @Dukia Radio and follow us on Twitter rather, and like our Facebook page. We're grateful if you have done that already, and would even be more grateful for those of us who will do that this week. God bless you. I also mentioned to us the last time that we should be on the lookout for Purpose University. That is cooking, and cooking really fast. Today we released a campaign on Twitter called the #AskBMM campaign. #AskBMM campaign, and that campaign easily just tells you to follow me on Twitter, ask any question, absolutely any question on purpose, and within 24 hours your answers will get to you. So please, again, if you follow me on Twitter and you have a question that's specific to purpose and purpose related issues, just tweet at me using the #AskBMM, and you'll be amazed that in 24 hours I'll give very robust answers to your questions. Like I said when we started out today, we want to look at the danger of low expectations. In John chapter 5, there's a story that captures what I'm trying to say today. The story of the man at the pool known as Bethesda. This man, according to the story, had been beside the pool of Bethesda for 38 years at the same spot, expecting the same thing, or maybe not expecting it enough. On this particular day that this story was recorded, it turns out that Jesus was going past, and this man was lying by the pool of Bethesda again. And Jesus stopped to ask him if he could help him. I want to read from verse 6. It says, when Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, wilt thou be made whole? Jesus saw a sick man, or an infirmed man. He'd been there for 38 years. And Jesus, this is not even something that is hidden. This is not a secret. Jesus has been going around, or going from one length to the other of the city, healing people. And here was this man at the pool of Bethesda, and Jesus walks up to him. Did not say to him, do you want to swim? Jesus said to him, will you be made whole? And let's hear his response. His response in verse 7 says, the impotent man answered, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another stepped down before me. What did Jesus ask him? Jesus asked him, will you be made whole? What was his response? I have no one to throw me in the pool. Jesus did not ask him, will you be made whole by entering the pool? Because what usually used to happen then was, once in a year, according to that story, an angel will come and stir the water in the pool. And the first person that gets inside that pool after the stirring by the angel would receive their healing. And so this man for 38 years has been by the side of that pool, waiting to get into the water first, and he's never been able to get in on time. Now, 38 years later, Jesus is all around town healing people. And Jesus walks up to him by the side of that same pool, asked him if he would be made whole. And his answer is, I don't have someone to drop me in the pool. Thank God Jesus is not like man. So Jesus took one look at him in verse number 8 and said, rise, take up thy bed and walk. And in verse 9, the Bible said immediately the man stood up, took up his bed and started to walk. The danger of low expectations. What do I mean by low expectations? That state of mind where you don't expect much of anything from anyone or even from yourself. So people who have the low expectations just live from day to day. There's really nothing that is driving them. They are not pushing through any stuff. They are just there. That's what my daughter would call existing rather than living. They are alive, they're taking up space, they're eating food, they're doing all the things that people do. Only problem is their expectation of themselves and others is so low. So we want to quickly look at the causes of low expectation. What makes a man live with low expectation or no expectation at all? The first thing that I know that causes that is that people have the fear of disappointment. Because it's easier not to expect anything so that when it doesn't come, you say, well, I wasn't even expecting it. But what happens when you are expecting it and it does show up? So we find a lot of people going around afraid to dream, afraid to do anything that God has optimized them to do, just because they are afraid of being disappointed. Cause number one of low expectations or a life of low expectations is that people are afraid of disappointment. The reason why this man took one look at Jesus with puppy eyes and said, I have no one to throw me in the pool, was probably because he had tried before and it didn't work. So this time he wasn't even trying, because the story did not say he tried. The story said he was asked, do you want to be made whole? And his excuse was, well, there's nobody to throw me in the pool. I'm thinking that if you're really determined to get in the pool, then you don't come to the poolside alone. You look for someone to come with you so that when the water is there, the person rolls you into the pool. I'm just thinking that if I'm that determined, or if I want to get in the pool, I will find a way to get into the pool. The second cause of low expectations in people is ignorance. Some people have no idea who they are. They don't know what they are capable of doing. They have no idea what they can achieve. And that ignorance keeps them in one spot. A lot of us are going around. Yes, we are educated. Problem is we are not literate. So even though we went to school, we have a degree, we don't know how life works. We have no idea. We're just ignorant of the very next step. And so because of that, it's easier to live a life of low or no expectation. The third cause of low expectations in most dreamers or people who should be dreamers is gaps. What do I mean by gaps? I call this the expectation gap. Most of these people know where they are. They know where they want to go, but the very next step they should take is lost on them. And for that reason, it's easier to not just even push, so they don't dream. And that's when you see people settle for dead-end jobs that they are not happy at. They settle for the least resistance. They take what I call the path of least resistance. So we've looked at fear of disappointment, we've looked at ignorance, and we've looked at gaps. The fourth cause of low expectations is comfort zones. You can say in a manner of speaking that this is actually a fallout of all the other ones, because the longer people stay in fear of disappointment, the longer they stay with gaps in their processes, the longer they are ignorant of what they should be doing or what they are capable of doing, the fatter they get in their zone. And before we know what is happening, we become so robust that it becomes such a comfort zone for us that now getting out of that spot and doing anything that will shift us from low expectations to achievement is almost impossible. The fourth reason why most people live lives of low expectation is excuses. Excuses. My father died when I was 6. And because of that, my mother couldn't send me to school. And that's why I have not been able to dream or do anything about myself. And then you hear people say ridiculous things as we moved a lot of times. So after a while, because I had to change schools because of that, they just give ridiculous excuses. And some people actually even have legitimate reasons. like sickness, like, but when the rubber hits the road, the truth of the matter is, no matter what it is, it's still an excuse. Because if you do your best to find a way, you will come out of it. Now, what do I mean by that? In the Law of Victory by John C. Maxwell, he says that leaders or great leaders find a way to win. So you can't be that person who is operating in the law of victory and still operate under low expectations, because you are determined to get somewhere. So you find a way to win. What am I saying? I'm saying that yes, I know that stuff happened to you. And I know that the stuff that happened to you was really terrible. But until you rise beyond the ashes of those excuses, you may never become the person that you have in your DNA to become. The fifth cause of low expectations is mindsets. The mindsets that says it's always been this way, culture. It's always been this way. My grandfather did it like this. My father did it like that. And when I was discussing this show with my colleague, he was like, mindsets, how does that? I said, for instance, I remember in my mother's generation, most women couldn't read engineering. They couldn't become doctors. They couldn't become lawyers. Most women had just two vocations. Three actually, to be a housewife, to be a teacher, or to be a nurse. And it didn't matter whether they had the intellectual prowess to do more. But the mindset then said, if you're a woman and you're married especially, then you have to take this, do these kinds, read these kinds of courses and take these kinds of jobs so that you can be home for your children. Incidentally, that was the era where people raised children together, which meant that they had a lot of support available to be able to take care of their children. But the mindset of that era said, a woman who is beyond a nurse or a teacher is overly ambitious. And sometimes it's even said that they may not find someone to marry them. Sad, but true. So these are some of the things that cause low expectations. There's also a lack of vision. But I'm looking at a lack of vision and I'm saying, well, yes, if you can't see where you're going, it is possible that you will not have a goal for that place. So a lack of vision can be the reason. This man could not see. Jesus was standing with him. That's the God of the universe was standing in front of him, asking him if he wanted to be whole. And all he could say was, well, I have no one to throw me in the pool. What low expectation he had. Compare him to another man in Mark, I think it's Mark chapter, I'm not sure what chapter of Mark it is now, but the story of blind Bartimaeus. This one was blind and he just heard. He didn't see, he heard that Jesus was passing by. And he started to scream from where he was, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And he shouted and screamed and yelled so hard that even when the disciples told him to keep quiet, he kept yelling until Jesus stopped to ask him, what will you have me do? That shows a man that had major expectations. If you compare him to the man at the pool of Bethesda, it wasn't his circumstance that kept him there for 38 years. It was that he didn't have the fighting spirit. So he had low expectations of what could happen to him. So we have looked at the causes of low expectations. What are the effects of low expectation on a man or woman of destiny? What are the effects? I will share those ones when I come back. I've been told that I need to go on break.
Introducing Dukia Radio, a new online purpose and leadership talk radio for the family. Follow us on Twitter at Dukia Radio and like our Facebook page, Dukia Radio. Dukia Radio, giving life full expression. Coming soon.
Yes, welcome back. We're still looking at the danger of low expectations, and we've just finished looking at the causes of low expectations. I'll quickly run them by you again. We have fear of disappointment, ignorance, gaps, comfort zones, excuses, mindsets, and a lack of vision. And I said before the break that I will begin to tell you the effects of low expectation. What can low expectation make? How does it affect your life and your destiny? One is mediocrity. A man or woman who has low expectation of whatever will never fulfill their potential. They are at best a mediocre version of who they can be. And the way I see it, that's not how God is created. God has created you excellently. The Bible says it like this. It says you are a sign and a wonder. It says you are the eternal excellency and a joy unto many generations. So why do you want to settle for average or for mediocre? I have checked it and I'm afraid most of the time. But even in that fear, I'm determined to just push through and expect the highest of myself. People who suffer from low expectations don't expect much from themselves, and they definitely don't expect anything from anyone else. So the first thing you see is that those kinds of people end up living mediocre lives. They don't do much with all that they've been optimized to become. The second effect of low expectations or living life with low expectation is that such a person is constantly controlled by circumstances. Did you hear the man at the pool of Bethesda? He said, I have no one. That's circumstantial. That shouldn't be the life of a child of God. You don't submit to be controlled by your circumstances. But a man with low expectations will submit. I see them every day. When you ask them, oh, there was no electricity. Then you ask them the next day, oh, it rained. And then you ask them the next day, oh, I had a headache. They always have one circumstance or the other why they can't rise above. And even when you now give them the tools to fight those circumstances, because in their mind, they still live with that, oh, there's not much I can do. You find that they don't push through. The third effect of low expectation is that people with low expectations miss their opportunities. Because the only reason why blind Bartimaeus grabbed or latched onto the opportunity of Jesus going past was because he had, even though he had been born blind from birth, he had expected that one day he would see again. So if you take a look at that, what are your expectations? Another effect of low expectations is you cannot plan. Because you have no vision, so what's there to plan with? Automatically, it becomes a vicious cycle. You just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it looks like life has thrown you or dealt you a hard blow or a raw deal. But the truth of the matter is the only man who remains down is the man who has collaborated and cooperated with everything to keep him down. A man who decides that he would have an expectation of himself, regardless of where he was born, what he has or doesn't have, regardless of the fact whether he has an education or not, is the man that makes it. Another effect of low expectations, you end up never knowing what you are truly capable of. You end up never knowing what you are truly capable of. So on the flip side, those who live with high expectations, what is it in their life that stands out? Let me tell you what can happen when you have high expectations. Number one, you may fail. I decided to make this the first thing. You can fail. Actually, you can fail. You may fail. But you see, even failure has its advantage. Because one, you learn how not to do it. Two, you get scarred. And that becomes, for tomorrow, if you decide to push through again, a badge of honor. Because, a general is not a general until he's been to battle. So failure is one of the hallmarks of someone who has expectations and is trying. If you have high expectations, you are in charge and in control of your life, not circumstances, not other people. I've heard that if you don't have a vision for your life, other people will plan your life for you. And guess what? They would not have planned much, because just the way you don't have too much of an expectation for yourself, You'll be lucky if they even have an expectation for you at all. The only time such people will have an expectation for you will be to enhance their own lives, never for your individual life. If you live with expectations, you can actually plan. Because I have an expectation of what can happen if Purpose University is run, I am planning. In places where I'm unable to deliver by myself, I'm reaching out to those professionals who can help me deliver. That's the way to work with an expectation. Because what happens in the place of an expectation is you are not expected to do it by yourself. You just need to put together the plan of action and invite others. And 9 times out of 10, I've said it before, when you make that effort, you will be amazed how many people are willing to jump on it and help you. I'll be right back to tell you how to begin to raise your expectations as we begin to close today's shows.
Introducing Dukia Radio, a new online purpose and leadership talk radio for the family. Follow us on Twitter at Dukia Radio and like our Facebook page, Dukia Radio. Dukia Radio, giving life full expression. Coming soon.
Welcome back. We've been looking at the danger of low expectations, and I want to talk to us about how to raise our expectations. The first is to think about your identity. Who are you really? I can't get over talking about identity because everything that we do flows from who we are. So if you know who you are in Christ really, then what will happen is your identity will be very clear to you. And the moment that is clear to you, you cannot know that inside of you lies, say, a university, and then you expect a creche of yourself. Not that anything is wrong with a creche. It's just that that's not the height of who you can be. So you need to know yourself. The second way to raise your expectation is you must have the right desires. And you cannot have the right desire unless you know your identity. You have a sense of who you are. So your desire will begin to peak. Because desire is the platform from which your expectations will grow. The third way to raise your expectation is to get a vision for your life. When you have a vision, and a vision is not a wish, a vision is something you've thought out and you've put down on paper. When you have a vision for your life, you share it with other people, and then you take responsibility and become accountable to that vision. Automatically, the expectation for your life by yourself will begin to increase. The fourth way to raise your expectation is to boost your confidence. You need to talk to yourself because a lot of us have self-esteem issues. You need to begin to have conversations with yourself. Tell yourself who you are in Christ. Let me even remind you, just one. The Bible says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I want to add another one. You are created in the image and after the likeness of God. That means you are no ordinary person. So you need to build your confidence. The fourth way, or is it the fifth way to raise your expectation is to make sure you get exposed to the right surround. That's the best way I can put it, considering that we just finished the law of surround. What do you expose yourself to? What books do you read? Who are the people in your circle of influence? Because all of this would determine what you expose yourself to, and that can help to raise your expectation of yourself. I can quickly tell you how in my life exposure has helped me. Just being exposed to my husband or married to my husband helped raise my expectation of myself, because one of the things that Mark kept telling me in those early years of our marriage was the fact that I was smart. He kept telling me that I was smart and that I could do anything that I set my heart to do. And that's helped me raise my expectation of me. So you want to make sure that you are exposed to the right people, the right surround is what I would say, the right people, the right material. And then the sixth way to raise your expectation is that you need to be deliberate. Blind Bartimaeus was deliberate. He kept screaming, Jesus, thou son of David. He wasn't saying, oh, you man walking past, because that could have meant anybody. He had to have asked people, remember he was blind, what's the master's name? And they told him Jesus, and he started to scream, Jesus, thou son of David. That was how he caught Jesus' attention. You have to be deliberate. Deliberate in the sense that you need to know where you're going, and you need to deliberately take those steps. Don't settle for what people ask you to settle for. The disciples wanted blind Bartimaeus to settle, maybe for a loaf of bread or for some alms. But the guy knew what he came there to do. And when Jesus stopped and asked him, he said, what will you have me do for you? He said, that I might receive my sight. He was not mincing words. He was not confused about what he wanted. The final way to raise your expectation is you must set goals. You must set goals. It's no longer okay to say, I will be successful. It's no longer okay to say, I will build a house. When do you want to build a house? What type of house do you want to build? They have to be smarter, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, enthusiastic, rewarding. Set goals. I don't know what blind Bartimaeus said that day, but I think he said, today I heard Jesus walks past. Today I will receive my healing, except he doesn't have the power to heal. On the other hand, I think the man at the pool of Bethesda woke up that morning and said, well, another day maybe they will give me alms. Let me just go while away some time at the edge of the pool. How you wake up in the morning, the spring with which you get out of bed, the mindset, deliberately doing a to-do list maybe the night before or the morning before you leave your house usually impacts every time on your productivity level. So the days I don't have a to-do list, I look extremely busy, but at the end of the day when I'm going through my reflective time, I realize that I have not done anything. But the days that I get out of the house with a to-do list, it looks like I'm on steroids on such days. That's what happens when you have an expectation. I promised my colleague that I was going to share with you ways in which I have low expectations sometimes. And for me, it is the fear of failure that makes me sometimes expect little or nothing of myself. So it's not peculiar to you. Even though I know that is something that plagues me, I also do my best to keep myself accountable and to keep pushing until I push through the barrier that tends to put in front of me. What are the things or what areas of your life are you living with low expectations? Some people are not married, but they've given up on marriage because in their mind, I'm past 30. Surely it doesn't look like I'm going to marry anymore. Who are you to determine whether you can marry again? I don't think that's in your department. That's in God's department. Your responsibility is to expect. The Bible says that the expectations of the righteous shall not be cut short. And we're not righteous because we say so. We're righteous because Jesus has made us so. So how can you not expect so much out of your life? My prayer is no matter what it is that is making you not expect much out of whatever area of your life, that today you begin to rise out of that bed. Jesus said to the man at the pool of Bethesda, he said, rise, take up your bed. And today I speak to you, rise from the bed of low expectations. Reach for what has been set in front of you. And you'll be amazed how many people, God himself inclusive, who are willing to pull you up to the greatest of the heights that you can go. This has been the Nevertheless Show. Remember to look out for Purpose University and please follow at Dukia Radio on Twitter and like our Facebook page. Remember to check me out on Twitter on the hashtag AskBMM campaign so that you can send in your purpose questions. One thing I know is that if you discover purpose, you will live powerful. May God bless you till next week when I come your way again.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.